Good morning, students. Today we are moving to a different paper. This is your vocational course, copy editing. So I'll be dealing with the first module of copy editing, in which you will understand what is copy editing, what are these typescripts, etc. And this is actually a very technical paper. So you must go through the points, all those facts given, all those concepts clearly, because I know that it is a new paper and you are not at all familiar with all those terms. So this is basically the text we follow. It is Judith Butcher's copy editing. We have only a copy in the library, and I think it is available in the Google Books. I will send you the link afterwards. So basically it is about what is copy editing, how to make all those final version of book, and how it undergoes the process of copy editing, how to make all those corrections. And there are concepts like typesetting, etc., typescripts, etc. And in the last part you will learn about how to make corrections like usage of house style. So these are the terms you have to be familiar with. So as I said earlier, this is basically a technical paper and you need to put more effort to understand this paper better. I will give you, just like the other presentations, I will give you the PowerPoint in which the terms are explained. So please take an extra effort to study this paper. If you are aware of, if you are familiar with all those concepts, it will be very easy to deal with this paper. So I will start with my part. I will be dealing with the definition of copy editing, and then we are moving to the role of a copy editor, and then we'll talk about typescripts, how to capture the text electronically, and the last part we'll move to the copy editing on screen. So first of all, you'll think about what is copy editing. So what is copy editing? Copy editing is actually a process that ensures that text is correct in terms of spelling, grammar, jargon, punctuation, terminology, semantics, and formatting. So, copy editing actually ensures that the idea of the writer he wishes to portray is clear and easy to understand. A copy editor actually makes sure that any factual data in the text is accurate and any potential legal issues are brought to the publisher's attention. So we should say that the main aim of copy editing is actually to remove obstacles between the reader and what the author wants to convey, and to find and solve any problems before the book goes to the typesetter. Typesetter is the process of the text going into print. So the major aim is to make production go ahead without interruption or unnecessary expense. You might think that There is less need for copy editing now that the author can use computer software to check spelling and even grammar. You may think that why can't the author simply provide the typesetter with a formatted, spell checked file to turn into a book? What is the need of a copy editor? But you should understand that although a computer is a useful tool for the copy editor, it cannot read for sense, repetition, or ambiguity. Computer will not understand whether there are errors in sense, whether there are repetitions, or whether the idea is not clear. Along with that, computer will not be able to pick up libel. Libel is actually all those false statement which actually damage a person's reputation. So computer will not be able to understand double meanings in the text, or it will not be able to pick up all those factual errors or misleading or potentially dangerous information. Computer will not be able to identify all these things. So we should say that copy editor is actually the reader's advocate and the author's ambassador. So this is very important. Copy editor is called reader's advocate and author's ambassador. And in this electronic age, he has a more important role than ever before in guiding the book through the complexities of the production process. So, in the electronic age, production process is complex, and we need the help of a copy editor. So, he performs the duty as reader's advocate and author's ambassador. So, the majority of copy editors are freelance copy editors working for different clients and often to a fixed budget and schedule. Publishers increasingly expect copy editors to have a good judgment, to be able to strike a balance between quality, cost, and time. Different publishers actually work in different ways according to the kinds of material they have to publish. However, common to all types of publications and all methods of production is the value that a good copy editor can actually add to the author's work by ensuring that within the inevitable budgetary and time constraints. So, a good copy editor helps the author to present the work to his readers in the best possible form. So, he will take into consideration all those limitations of the author, his constraints, his budgetary constraints, his time constraints. He will take all these things into account and he will help the author to publish the book in the best form he can. There are various kinds of editing. First one is substantive editing. It actually aims to improve the overall coverage and presentation of a piece of writing, its content, scope, length, level, and organization. So the editor may suggest improvements for the author to make, or may, by the agreement with the author, he can even rewrite and rearrange the material, and he can even suggest better illustrations. So the editor at the stage will normally look at look for all those legal problems such as use of libel, as I said earlier, it is all those false statements which damages a person's reputation. And also the editor looks for plagiarism. What is plagiarism? Plagiarism is actually stealing from other text. And he will also look for any quotations or illustrations that may need permission from the copyright owner. Next type of editing is detailed editing for sense. It is concerned with whether each sections expresses the author's meaning clearly without any gaps and contradictions. So it involves looking at each sentence, the author's choice of words, punctuations, use of abbreviations, and comparing the data in tables with the relevant text, checking text against the illustrations and the captions, and so on. So here the editor also ensure that appropriate acknowledgement has been given for quotations or illustrations that need permission from the copyright owner, and will also look out for the other legal problems. So mainly his aim is to look through these text and to check for the details, like whether the author is giving out his meaning clearly without any contradictions, with whether the meaning given is unclear or not. And it will also look for all those punctuations, use of abbreviations, etc. Next kind of editing is checking for consistency. It is actually a mechanical task but important task. It may be done, it involves checking such things as spelling and use of single or double quotes, either according to a house style or according to the author's own style, and checking the number of illustrations, tables, and notes, and any cross references to them, and also the consistency of bibliographical references. So this is actually looking for all those spellings, codes, etc., and understanding whether it provide consistency. So consistency of house style. So what is house style? House style is actually house style is actually a rule that try to bring about uniformity and consistency to the printed material. For example, when you start with doing your project, you will understand different house styles. Like the most famous house style is Oxford University Press, and then there is this Chicago Manual, there is this MLA Handbook, which provide rules which are adopted to bring uniformity in the printed material. So these include often choices like relating to spelling, pronunciation, abbreviations, etc., hyphenation. So copy editor usually follow a certain house style. So he may use Chicago manual style, he may use MLA style, etc. So that is another type of editing. Now the fourth one is clear presentation of the material for the typesetter, and it involves making sure that it is complete and that all the parts are clearly identified. For example, the grade of each subheading, which should be distinguished typographically from the main text, and where tables and illustrations should be placed. Some publishers even ask the copy editor to size the illustrations, mark type sizes. Although this is relatively uncommon. So that is the fourth part. Clear presentation of material for the typesetters. Typesetting is actually the process of the data going to the print, that is typesetting. So before it is going for the print, they make sure that everything is clearly identified and it is complete. So all those, there should be, when you go through a book, even the subheading will have a different style than the text. So each part has to be typographically distinguished, differentiated. Everything has different type sizes. Type sizes is actually the vertical size of a letter or a text. So it is not very easy. These are all minute things, minute details. So looking for the height of a letter, like if you want to look through this single page in which I talk about various kinds of editing, I use different type sizes. You look at all those letters, they have different heights, different vertical size. That is actually the type size. So a copy editor makes sure that everything has a unique type size, and every headings, every text, it is typographically distinguished, typographically differentiated. So it is said that the same person can do all the four of these things, like substantive editing, detailed editing for sense, checking for consistency, clear presentation of the material for the typesetter. So all these things, all these editing process can be done by a single person, and also they can be split in various ways. Those who do the substantive editing may be called editor, commissioning editor, project editor, journal editor, or development editor. Those who carry out the other categories of editing, like detailed editing for sense, checking for consistency, clear presentation of the material for the typesetter, they may be called editor, desk editor, production editor, sub editor, or copy editor. So we have dealt with, I hope you got an idea about what is copy editing. Copy editing simply is editing a copy, editing the raw material which is provided by the author. See, so the author writes a text, writes a matter, and he gives it to the copy editor, and he will check for all those errors and all those minute details like the usages, grammar, spellings, punctuations, abbreviations, and even look out for the illustrations and even look out for all those legal problems. So that is actually copy editing. Now we move to the next part. What are the roles of a copy editor? So I said that copy editor actually act as reader's advocate and author's ambassador. You should understand that the electronic revolution in publishing has changed a lot of things since then. And a book's journey is actually from author's mind to printed page, and will take, it will follow many different routes. Most publishers are now concerned not simply with the print as the final product, but also with the electronic life of a book. So the books are available in the form of e-books, web pages, or even CDs. And this influence their choice of production method and the copy editor's part in the publication process. So in electronic age, the copy editing process is getting more complex. Later it was only his job was turning into a printed book, but now in this electronic age there are different versions available, and this product should be available in different platforms. So the job of the copy editor has become more complex. So therefore we should say that copy editor need to be well informed about a bit about publishers' production methods, intentions for finished products, and also be adaptable to publishers' requirements. So you should understand the production method. As a copy editor, you should understand all those production methods and what are the intentions of the final product, and you should stick to the publisher's requirement. So on one side there is author, and the other side, at the other end, it is publisher. So he should be a person who should understand both the requirements of the author and the publisher. So copy editors may be involved at three stages. First is the typescript should be looked at soon after the book has been accepted for publication. So he should identify any recurring fault, mistakes of consistency, style, or layout that the author could be asked to correct before copy editing starts. There might be other general changes that the author should be asked to approve in advance. So this is this preliminary check of typescript, which is carried out by the copy editor, and at this stage he will brief the designer and the production department on any complications to be taken into account in designing the book, planning its production. So this is actually the preliminary check before the typescript. What is this typescript? Typescript is actually the raw material that the copy editor works on. It can be a hard copy printout, typewriter produced copy, or even electronic files. So that is TypeScript. TypeScript is the material that the copy editor works on. So in the first stage, it is a preliminary check of the TypeScript to understand the glaring mistakes in consistency, style, or layout, and he can inform the author to correct before the actual copy editing starts. So this is actually the preliminary check. That is the first stage. And next is main copy editing stage. So here the copy editor works through the TypeScript and illustrations in detail, reading for sense and style, checking for style and consistency, and ensure that the author's intentions are clearly conveyed to the publisher and its reverse. So that is the main copy editing age, the major part in which he goes through the book thoroughly, looking for, working through all those typescripts, illustrations, checking for sense, checking for mistakes, checking the style, consistency, etc. And the next stage is proofreading stage. At proof stage, the copy editor may read a proof or combine author's proof with the proofreaders, ensuring that author's amendments, author's changes are understandable, comprehensible, and consistent. He also ensures at this stage he also ensures that the or that everything is incorporated, additional materials are incorporated without great difficulty, that he ensures that additional materials such as an index is well organized and consistent, and might be asked by the publisher to see that the cost of corrections is allocated fairly between author, typesetter, and publisher. So that is the proof stage. So you may think that a copy editor is is similar to a proofreader. It is not same. Proofreader is actually a person who does a, a job which is easier than the job of a copy editor. It is said that to copy editor a work is to proofread a work, but not vice versa. So a copy editor will look for, as I said earlier, he will look for or check for all those errors in grammar, spelling, syntax, etc. He will look for all those factual errors. He will look for all those potential legal problems. But a proofreader will make make or take into consideration all those surface level errors of the text, while the copy editor gives an in-depth review of the text. So proofreader works on the surface level, while the copy editor moves to an in-depth, detailed understanding, correction of this text. So, copy editor actually gets the text after a proofreading. So, hope you understood. Now, what are the characteristics of a good copy editor? A good copy editor is actually a rare, it is said that he is a rare creature, a rare combination. So, he should be an intelligent reader, a tactful and sensitive critic, someone who cares about perfection of detail, to spend time checking small points of consistency in someone else's works, and has good judgment not to waste time by making unnecessary changes. So we should say that copy editor need not be an expert on subject. So a person who is copy editing a text on mathematics, he need not be an expert in mathematics, but he must be able to interest themselves in its position, or try to put themselves in the position of the intended readers. Authors are actually are so familiar with their subject and may have written a book over so long a period, and they will not often see all those errors. So the author may because of his familiarization with the subject, he may not understand the errors and the all those spelling errors, grammar errors, all those punctuation errors may not be noticed by the author, but it is the duty of a good copy editor to see where an author has been repetitious or ambiguous, not clear, or whether this author has omitted a step or failed to explain a point clearly. So he need not be an expert in the subject, but he must position himself in the place of the reader and go through this text and identify the things the author has missed. He can look for the repetition, ambiguity, etc., and all those points which are not clearly explained. So, you should say that although the copy editor's main interest is likely to be an editorial one, the job also involves production considerations too. So, knowing the book in detail, the copy editor can make the author's intentions clear to the designer and the typesetter, and realizing the constraints within which the typesetter has to work, he can explain to the authors why it is not possible to carry out their wishes in the exact way they propose. So it is this joint role that actually gives this job its fascination. So he actually act as a bridge between author and designer and typesetter. So he will take into consideration the needs of both the author in one side and designers, typesetters, publishers on the other side. So he actually act as a bridge between these people, and this is what makes this job more fascinating. So, for today's lecture, I dealt with the definition of copy editing, different types of editing, and then we talked about the role of a good copy editor, and then we talked about characteristics of a good copy editor. So I'm repeating it again that this is not a familiar subject for you, but take an extra effort to understand the subject. There are terms like you have gone through this terms like typescript, type size, typesetter, typesetting, etc. House styles. So basically we follow, as I said earlier, basically we follow Judith Butcher's copy editing, in which there is a glossary of terms. You will get to know the definitions of these terms in that book. I will send you the link of the Google book available. So if you find any difficulty in any part, please inform me. I can give you more explanation. So today basically this is important. Last time it came as an essay, that is the role of a copy editor. So I hope you got an idea about what is copy editing and the role of copy editor. And I repeat that if you have any doubts, if you want more clarifications, please contact me. So thank you girls. Have a nice day.